Oops. Sorry about that. All right, so we have this SIG Node demo created, and I'm going to go ahead and apply this config map. All right, and we should be able to once again go and check and see that those profiles now exist. So for lib kubelet setcomp, and they should be an operator. And we should see that now we have another directory, the SIG Node demo one, which was the name of the namespace that that config map was created in. And then we should see a directory for the name of the config map, which was SIG Node profiles. And if we look inside of that, we should see both these profiles, and they should be exactly as we specified then. So this first one is just default action of error. So if we wanted to actually test these out on a pod, let's look at how we have this configured. Like I said, I'm using a 1.18 version of Kubernetes, so setcomp is not part of the security context yet, so I'm still using the annotation here. Basically, we're just specifying that this is a local profile, and it's in this directory here. And we'll start off with doing profile 1, which is default error, so we should fail to create this container when we apply it. So let's give that a shot. All right, and if we look at our pods here, container creating, and if we watch that, we should see that fairly soon we should get an error for it creating. Yep, great container error. So, you know, obviously it can't make any syscalls, so it's not going to be able to start up. So let's go ahead and delete that pod, and now we'll do the same thing. But we will use profile 2, which just has a default action of log. So when we apply this, this should start up successfully. If we watch that, it's already running. So yeah, that's kind of the main workflow of how it works. It's pretty straightforward. And the main thing we want to do is provide similar experience and continue to build on this for other security measures such as AppArmor. So yeah, I'll pass it off to Sasha and Paolo to cover anything else that they have specifically related to the name change of the controllers and that sort of thing.
Paolo, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
He must be having some audio troubles.
Yeah,
oh,
we can.
So which one need I can grant you right now?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, go ahead, Sasha.
I can go ahead with the AppArmor cap. So this cap is linked in the agenda, and it has been quite open for a while. And I saw that Jordan did some review 5 days ago. And I probably have the chance today to implement the review, and I'm not sure if we make it until the enhancements deadline, which is today, end of the day. But in general, if we want to, I mean, we can target it for 120 or 121, so there is no rush. But all in all, I would really appreciate some approval from SIG Node if we can go forward with the promotion of AppArmor to GA. I think it already has got some LGTM from Timothy, but yeah, generally want to raise the awareness that we are working on it, and we probably can move forward with that cap as well in the near future.
Cool.
I will now cover the other subject as well. Sorry, guys, I had some issues before. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Brilliant. Yeah, sorry, having loads of issues here. Can I share my screen, please?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still not able to.
You can right now.
Oh yeah, working out. Thank you. Cool. So one of the topics we brought it up a few weeks ago was about renaming the second operator, and that is because we find the need to kind of do other things as well within this operator. The initial name we had was security operator, which the feedback we received was that it was too broad. So we've done a bit of brainstorming and came up with this, which actually helped us kind of find a new name, which is security profiles operator. And this is based on the kind of features we want to implement on this operator, right? So at the moment, the second operator does quite a few things. So, you know, we support config maps, CRDs, we sync those into, you know, across the nodes within a given cluster. We storing second profiles for, you know, public workloads. So for example, Nginx, and that is to expand on that. In the future, we want to allow people to automatically apply them. So for example, if you have, you know, Nginx in your cluster, by using this operator, you'll be able to automatically just apply a second profile to it. So there's a few other things that we want to do on that space. And then now on AppArmor, for example, we want to do similar things, right? We want to support CRD, we want to support config map, so people can represent and deploy those AppArmors more easily. We also want you to be able to load those profiles into the nodes, which is a different mechanism than we have for second operator at the moment, but that would be targeted for AppArmor. And conversely, we also would like to, you know, store AppArmor profiles for, you know, public workloads like Nginx and others, which then would be able to be auto-applied. There are a few other things around SE Linux, pod security policies in our back that we started to think about. We haven't really, you know, fleshed it out as much as we have for SecComp and AppArmor, but we definitely see the need, you know, and where we could add value around those subjects and other, you know, security features within this space. So the key thing that we would like to ask you guys, so we have a PR, you know, to rename the project into, you know, security profiles operator, and it would be great to get feedback from you lot about, you know, the things that we want to do. If you have any other ideas on things that we could also implement, and also, you know, hopefully get these approved so we can rename the operator. Does that make sense?
Do you foresee supporting any other kind of configuration in the future, like beyond just security?
No, not well. So far, we haven't thought about that, like to that extent. I think, you know, the amount of things within security is already quite big, and it will take some time for us to implement it. But we haven't started discussing. Would you have any ideas of things that might be worth doing?
So I guess like you guys have already linked to, like, OpenShift has a machine config operator, which is more general, which allows you to basically manage any files anywhere on your system and then make sure that those files contents don't change. So I'm wondering if, like, you started with SecComp here, and now we're adding security profiles. Do you see it headed that direction, and maybe we should think of something more general? By the way, like, just sticking with security profiles sounds great to me, but I'm just wondering if you foresee going down that path or just limiting to security.
Yeah, so that's really good feedback. Thank you for that. So when we started thinking about the operator, the idea was to decrease the barrier for people using security features within Kubernetes, right? At the moment, you need a lot of, you know, knowledge to actually get, you know, SecComp up and running, make sure that that's actually running and so on. So for example, one thing that we wanted to do is actually be able to notify the cluster admin, for example, if seccomp is not enabled on a given node, for example, because if the runtime doesn't support it, you know, the admin would be oblivious to that. So that's why I think, you know, like our focus in security is kind of primary overall. We haven't thought, you know, on extending on that, but the idea was to really add value on making it, you know, transparent and really easy to onboard those kind of security features. So I'm not sure if it makes sense for us to be a bit more generic and then not be able to add that extra mile of functionality, for example, to really test and give metrics on for example, usage. So this is one of the things that we were thinking about seccomp and well, the other ones as well, like within your workload in the cluster, what are the things that are being, that are actually using profiles, which ones are not, which ones are using, you know, the default ones or just the runtime default. You know, again, there's quite a few things that we want to implement around those lines.
Yeah, makes sense. Sounds like a good idea. So are you guys validating any of these profiles, and are you guys checking against tampering after something is written out to disk?
That's another really good question. So those are things that we kind of considering.
Okay.
When it comes down for validating the seccomp in, you know, itself, there are a few things that are not really part of the OCI. So what we defined was that we're only validating the things that are, and the other things are a bit open when it comes down to the CRD. When it comes down to the config map, at the moment, we do only basic validation as well, because again, you might use different syntax and, you know, depending on the runtime you're using. So it's a bit tough for us to be really specific on that perspective. In terms of validating files across the, you know, after they've been saved, at the moment, we're not doing that. That is one of the things that is on our backlog to make sure that, you know, the profiles are not being tampered with.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more questions? Anything, guys?
Well, I have a question. Can you hear me? Because I heard you mention that you cannot hear me earlier. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
So I'm wondering, because all those kind of those feature, I understand you want to introduce operator. Basically, it's just reduce of the complexity for the user to adopt and use of the security features. And also some of it is complementary, and some is kind of the provide a similar overlap of the functionality that just admin can choose different. But some also is different, just solve the different, to provide different security perspective, right? Too. So are you planning to this operator, you could have like the different combination, or you basically just only support one among four, actually there's 5, and or maybe just like the deploying, like during deployment, you have the operator, but I actually could deploy arbitrary combination, and how you're going to ensure and which one you can deploy. So because I haven't seen your cap to about this one yet, because I haven't seen anywhere to find that one. So yeah, so I just wondering how you're going to in your plan.
Well, it's still kind of early days. We haven't really, you know, fleshed out as much or as far as that, to be honest. But what we were thinking, and one of the reasons why changing the name of the operator was to be able to give one deployment, and you know, users would be able to use all of it instead of having like, you know, like let's say 5 or 4 operators to tackle specific parts of, you know, security features. So we haven't really gone that far, but I would assume we would stick to the idea of deploying only once. And in terms of enabling and disabling features, we will have to see how we do that once we get there, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
It's kind, but I just wondering, like for example, customer want to using Rebex and they also want to use in AppArmor. You say, oh, basically we only allow you to deploy one, or maybe we can allow you to deploy multiple altogether. But at the same time, because say Linux and AppArmor basically provide a similar functionality, so you cannot. So I would just want to make sure, did you what in your mind how we are going to move forward for those things? This is why Manu earlier think about this is more generic operator, because we put everything together and how you. So I guess that's maybe the question came from.
Okay, yeah, but overall, what I would say is like ideally you deploy everything. Like, so one operator does all of it, and you might disable some of the functionality. But again, like what we probably will do is once we start implementing a bit more of the AppArmor functionality, and we have some of that mechanism running, we can present again to the SIG node and get some feedback and see what is the best way forward. How would you feel about that?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm looking forward for your help and the design. I was just wondering, because the problem is we try to solve try to reduce learning curve, try to build the solution for customer. But if we don't provide the out of box kind of solution, and also using validation or ensure or whatever, ensure that it is valid configuration, maybe still have those learning curve there, and or maybe even cause more. But so that's kind of things, because and also operator solve a lot of problem in many deployment, but also cause actually cluster management problem, because you could be arbitrarily deploy a lot of things and without carefully think about many requirement prerequisite, like for example resource requests, right? So this is why I want to say, like, is there any is that in your mind the operator have some issues like the validation or certain things like the built-in?
Yeah, so the idea is to actually have that and confirm 100% that, you know, if a given pod is supposed to operate with a seccomp, unless it's actually applied and enforced, you know, we would be able to, for example, not allow the pod to run. Again, like all those things we're still thinking, but the idea is to go towards that, like really do the whole end-to-end when it comes down to those features. We still kind of, you know, for example, the recording of profiles, we're still working on that. But as those things mature, I think they definitely make sense for us to get some more feedback and see how to make them like really good. Would you be happy with for us to proceed with the rename?
I don't have any concern with the name, and I like the new name. Anyone else?
Well, no one seems to be opposed to it.
Sounds like no one.
Okay, so what would be the best way forward?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So
I guess I have to ask you, Paula.
Yeah.
What do you expect us to help you? Because I think that nobody really object to the new name, and
yeah. So the key thing for me now, I needed like a +1 or an okay from someone from SIG Node into the PR. So we can actually go ahead and rename the projects and start working into extending its functionality into AppArmor. So if you guys could do that, that would be amazing.
Oh, I already passed one, or maybe I passed one on your proposal in your, not in your PR, instead in your issue, because I didn't see this. I think I already passed one here.
Yeah, so if you could do that on the PR as well, because it was here, then we go, actually is, I think we have another one which is on the repository, which is this one.
Okay, so partner, how about after this one, you send me the link to your, which one you hope we can support, send it to me and Derek. And so you're one of us can plus one there, and that's I saw Derek is here, so but I guess he's not available to say loudly, so we can carry on that one. But I can process that after this meeting. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, bye.
Thank you. Let's move to next topic. Pod resource API cap. Swati, is that you?
I don't. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so this is just a quick reminder on the cap that we have. These are a few enhancements that we're making to the pod resource API. We're introducing CPU IDs and device topology information as part of the container resources, and two endpoints, which is get allocatable resources and a watch endpoint. Here with my colleagues, Alexi and Francesco, and we are kind of seeking approval on this cap. We've already got an LGTM from David Ashpole. He approved, so it's just kind of a matter of getting a final approval to get this cap merged before the enhancement phase today.
Yes, David is not joining today's meeting. I will poke him after this and need him to take a last look. And he's on this one. So even yesterday he gave me update, say this is pretty done.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and if there's anything that we can do in the meantime, just let us know, because we'd like it to get merged. We've addressed all the comments and all the concerns, so I think it's, from our point of view, it's all ready to go.
Sure, thanks.
Thanks.
So next one, it is runtime class to GA. Actually, Derek already proved that one and it's reviewed. And there's the two tests related of the PR, and Sergey posted here. Because he didn't feel well, so he left earlier. So well, everything looks okay on the right track. So next moves to next one. Next one, it is the Meta. You want to talk?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I hope to get that on time for freeze in, but I couldn't get any reviews until now. So it's still pending review. So I'm just adding it to the agenda just to, ask again if anyone could check it out and give any review or merge it or whatever. Yeah. Or if there are any questions or anything, I can, clarify or anything.
Nita, if I remember correctly, I don't think about we are converging about having this one available, the container ID and available in the through the downward API. And I understand you shared last time, but maybe I remember is not correctly, but I remember we didn't converging on that one. There still have the concern.
I mean, I didn't get really any review, so I'm not sure if we are converging or not. So I, 2 meetings ago, I presented the basic idea. We had some discussion. I was asked to make, a document, write it down. I made a document where I hope to collect all the, everything we discussed, presented that in a more, concrete form. With both arguments for or against, or or at least considerations and other alternative approaches. And so I would like to get feedback back on that. Is did I properly and nicely present everything, and is this what's the next step? But I don't have anything, any review, and any written comment on that anywhere. So I'm asking if we could get a review or some feedback, because I don't know if we are what is really the feeling of the group on this.
So anyone have any comment for this one?
So one question I have is, how do you handle latest? If an image is specified as latest, do you expect latest to be passed down, or do you expect the resolved SHA-256 to be passed down?
So there are both of them. So the image ID is SHA, and then addition, the name can also be passed down. My main hope is to get ID, but the name is very similar. So I would my proposal is to pass both of them just to be sure. But the main tricky thing, and why this cap is necessary in my view, is to pass SHA, because you cannot get SHA in any other way to know what exactly you're running if you're using latest tag. So that's exactly the use case where I want to, why I'm proposing this, is to address this question or issue that if you're using tag, only Kubernetes at the moment of running the pod or container knows to which side really resolved the tag.
Okay, so we'll need some CRI changes then to get the resolved tag back and then set it down.
You mean SHA or tag? I'm not sure.
SHA, sorry, SHA. To get the
yeah,
result.
SHA is generally available already in status from outside. So if you use the API from outside and you look at the status field, you have an image ID already there. The only issue is that the container itself does not have this information. So my hope is to be able to find a way when implementing to pass this in as an environment variable. If you enable that in your configuration of pod, so that you can get this information.
Okay.
So hopefully so this information is available around what I'm hoping, and I haven't yet implemented this. My hope is that this would be relatively straightforward to pass also inside, because it's already available outside.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I'll take a look at your cap. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mona. And maybe we'll assign that cap to you and for the first reviewer.
Sure.
And then we can come back together. So Mita and I don't, looks like we cannot capture our .9 for this release. So, but we are continue with the normal review process. Is that okay with you?
Sure. Do you know when is the next one? Like, what's then the time frame for everything to be ready for the next one?
I need to check about but we find the reviewer at least right now for this time. and
Okay.
someone
Yes.
as the reviewer. So we just carry on those discussing. Is that okay with you? I need to
Yes,
find.
that's okay. Yeah. No, it's just approximately. So it's just that I know how much to push so that we don't miss the next one. That's why I'm asking, like, just what is this a few months? Because I'm not familiar with that. Like, what is the next deadline I should be conscious about so that we don't miss the next one as well.
Yeah. Another thing is where those kind of even we miss this release, but if this proved, and then we can continue off the development, right? So you don't need okay, have to wait for next deadline and then wait for next release for the make the feature available. So it's not like that way. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I believe that's all for today. So any other topic people want to bring up to the community? Okay, then I think about we are okay, and that's for today. And everyone got about after 20 minutes back. Thank you, everyone.